Shapes, they are found down here. Rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, line, and custom shape tool. Let's start with the rectangle. Now, here we have many options to use whenever we are creating shapes. So if I roll over here, I'm creating a shape layer now whenever I'm creating something. Otherwise, I'm creating a shape path. We'll see the difference in a second. Or I'm creating a filled pixel. We're gonna see the difference of these three options here. First, I'm gonna set the color to something. So it's red instead of being white. So whenever I create something now, it's gonna be red. So if I go like this, I get a new layer automatically, right? It's red. If I want to change the color of the shape, I can double click and change the color. But here, this is a special kind of layer. It's not a regular layer. It's called a shape layer, meaning that there is a line, which is a rectangle in this case, that is filled with color. And this line prints at high resolution all the time, which means that, let's say that I have an ellipse. Okay, give it 10 seconds. I'll work here. Let's say that I have an ellipse. To get a perfect circle, I press Shift on my keyboard. Alright? So I created this in a new layer, which happens automatically. And I see this line around it, which is the path. You see this cracked line, the path. If I deselected the layer, the path is hidden. Now, this is a vector graphic, which means that it's resolution independent. Which means what? Which means that if I scale it up, it will retain its high quality, just like the text that we saw before. Vector graphics are not like bitmap graphics. A bitmap graphic is like an image. If I scale it up, it loses quality because I have a bigger area with the same number of pixels. When I scale something up, I have a bigger area with the same number of pixels. I did not increase the number of pixels. Therefore, I'm going to have a lesser quality with bitmap images whenever I scale them up. Now, with vector graphics, which are so far the text and the shapes that we are creating in Photoshop, these are resolution independent. If you scale them up or down, they retain their high quality. That's why they are used a lot in print ads. Right? So whenever you are creating a logo, for example, you would create it using these shapes or the pen tool here, as we're going to see. Because these always print at high quality if you scale them up or down. Alright, anyway, to delete a shape layer, just drag it down for now. Alright, so back to the shapes. I create something. If I wanted to have a perfect circle, I press Shift. Now, if I wanted to create something from the center, I press, what do I press? Shift to constrain to a perfect circle, Alt to create from the center, and Shift to constrain. Alright, so let's open an image, something. Okay, let's say here. Let's say that I wanted to create a sphere on top of the building. I'm gonna zoom up. If I first try to press Alt and click, the Alt will sample the color. So the Alt here will not actually create the circle centered. You should first create the sphere or the circle and then press Alt to create it from the center. You understand? So you go like this and press Alt and then Shift for a perfect circle. Alright, so now I have something like this, but I want this to go behind the building. How can I make it go behind the building? The building is just one layer. How can I make this? I want to cut this so that it looks like it's behind the building. But the problem is, yeah, you can do this. We did this before. But I want to do it in a different way today. I don't wanna cut the layers together because I wanna keep them the same way they are. I wanna work on this sphere. So let's do something first. Let's try to make it spherical, look spherical, and then let's see how we can make it look as if it was behind the building. So to make it look spherical, instead of being a flat circle, what can I do? I need to give it some spherical shading because it looks flat now. I need to make it look like a spherical form. No. I'm gonna add a style, yes, but what? Or I can fill it with a gradient. If I try to fill it with a gradient here, it doesn't work because it's a shape so far. If I right click and rasterize this, then I can use it. But I don't want to rasterize it now because I might be changing the scale later. So I need to find a less destructive way, which is a way without having to alter my work a lot. So for that, I'm going to click on F for layer effects. I'm going to add a gradient overlay. The gradient overlay will add a gradient on top of this. And I can move the gradient around. But here, to make this look spherical, I need the gradient to be radial, a radial gradient. I need to make it shine from one side and then get darker in the rest of the image. So here, I'm going to click on gradient. The first color, because I need the shininess, I'm going to choose white. And the second color, I'm going to choose dark red maybe. Alright, and then I'm going to move this over here. So now it's starting to look a bit spherical, but I need to refine it a bit more. So actually, I'm going to select this color here, and then add another one there. Here. Pass it on to Aliyah, Shabib. Who? Here. Alright, so whenever I did this, I got the shiny part up here, but it's still the same color down, so I need to make this a bit darker so that I have a spherical form. Maybe it's too dark like this. Maybe make this one brighter. Something like this. So now it's starting to look spherical. And maybe the last one, I'll make it really dark down here. Or not. Alright, so once I'm happy with my gradient, I can move it around here. You see how this looks like a ball now, and you have some light shining on that ball. Alright, so I'll press OK. I made it spherical, but now I need to make it look like it's behind the building. So if I try to make a selection here, see what's going to happen. I need to make a selection with the polygonal lasso because I have straight lines. So I click here and then go down there, here, here, and click. So what do I want to do with this part of the sphere? I don't want to delete it because if I delete it, it goes away forever. I want to hide it. You understand? If I find a way to hide it, then my work would be done. So the question is, how do I hide it? There is the easy way and there is the hard way. What? No, if I reduce the transparency, the whole layer will have. So I'll show you two ways. I can select this part of the image, copy it, and paste it as a layer above the sphere. Sorry. And then I would hide the sphere that way. But there is another way which I will show you. So let's start with this one. I have the selection. I'll go to my background, Control C, and Control V. When you copy and paste a selection, it comes automatically what? On a new layer. Very good. So it's layer 1. I'm going to take it up above the other one. So now I have it up there. Okay. Now let's say that the sphere looks too dark maybe. I can go to my gradient overlay, double click on it. You can reduce the opacity if you like. but it's not a good thing because you lose the spherical form. What you can do is change the blending mode to make it to test it out to see if something would get brighter. Actually, the normal is the best here. What I have to do is change the colors of the gradient to give me something better. But I'll leave it the way it is, maybe just reduce this a bit. What I did, Malak, is make a selection. This selection. I went down to the background. I copied this, Control C. When I paste, it gets pasted automatically on a new layer, which is up here. So I put it above the sphere. Alright, now, that's the first way, which is good, but there is a better way. So I'll delete this layer, the one that I added. I have my selection. Let's hide the sphere for a second to make sure that I have a good selection. Here I have some of the blue selected, so with pressing Alt, I'm going to remove the blue pixels that were selected. Like this. Alright. So, see what's going to happen now. I'm going to use something called the layer mask. So, here, with this selection on this red layer, I'm going to click where it says Add Layer Mask. The layer mask will show the layer in its selection. So, if I click it now, it will show just this part because that's the selected part. What do I need? I need the inverse of the selection, so I'll undo. And instead of selecting this part, I'll select everything else. So that part will be hidden. If I wanted to make my work even better, I can see what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a selection like this. Control D to remove the selection. I'll go like this to select the upper part of the building. You'll see why in a second. Remember, press the space bar to pan around the scene when you are, or the image when you are selecting. Okay, here I made a mistake. I press delete on my keyboard to remove the last point. Again, the same mistake. Alright, so here, do you see where I'm going with this? What I want to do is have the sphere be behind any part of the building, not just this upper part. So let's go down a little bit more. Alright, zoom out, Control minus, and go like this. So this is what I selected now. Alright? Maybe I can add the parts that I didn't select with pressing Shift. Okay, here it's not gonna work, but you get the idea. So now, if I click on Add Layer Mask, the sphere will show properly, but what's the advantage now? The advantage is that if you click on the sphere and move it around, but you have to move it around from here. I'll explain in a second what I'm doing. It will always look like it's behind the building. So no matter what I take it, it's gonna look like the sphere is behind the building. This of course is a sphere, but you can put anything you like there. It doesn't have to be a sphere. It can be even a regular image. But now, this is behind the building at all places. Of course, if I go down here, it will not look behind the building because I didn't make the selection right down here. Just to show you the difference. I could have made the selection go down so that it also gets behind the mountains. But otherwise, you get the idea. So this is a very good example about using layer masks to create a selection within an image so that only within the selection that image will show.